Well, sometimes when I'm speaking to my beloved Presbyterian brothers, we'll get into a discussion about baptizing babies. I'm, of course, Baptist. Presbyterians are pedobaptist, or infant baptizers, or as I like to facetiously say to my friends, unbeliever baptizers. Because babies are unbelievers, let's face it, when they're born. So the issue is, why would you baptize your baby? And often when we're talking about this text will come up in Acts chapter 16, when Paul and Silas are in prison and there's an earthquake and they are free to go, but they stay behind. The Philippian jailer is about to kill himself, and Silas and Paul cry out, "Don't do it," and then they share the word of the Lord with him, and this is what happens next. In Acts chapter 16, Paul cried out with a loud voice, saying, "Do not harm yourself, for we are all here." And he called for lights and rushed in, and trembling with fear, he fell down before Paul and Silas. This is the jailer. And after he brought them out, he said, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" And they said, "Believe in the Lord Jesus, and you will be saved, you and your house." I'm reading from the LSB, the Legacy Standard Bible. The ESV might say, or does say, "your household." And they spoke the word of the Lord to him, together with all who were in his household. And the ESV there says family. And he took them that very hour of the night and washed their wounds, and immediately he was baptized, he and his household. And the household is in italics there in the LSB because it's not in the Greek. He and all his people. And he brought them into his house and set food before them, and they rejoiced greatly with his whole household, because he had believed in God. And so my Presbyterian brothers will say, you see, there's a case of a man who gets saved, and he's baptized, he and his whole household, his whole family, and they're all rejoicing that he got saved, he believed in God, and they all got baptized. Well, a couple of things. One is, you're really assuming that there's unbelievers in that family, because after Paul speaks the gospel to him, he then also shares the word of the Lord with the entire household. And the entire household is rejoicing, and the entire household is baptized. It seems clear to me that the implication is that the entire household believed, and that there weren't unbelievers among them. So you're really reading into it that there's an infant somewhere there. If the Philippian jailer was an older man, why would he have any infants anyway? So that's one issue. You're arguing a very large point of theology from the white space, from the silence. I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean, the household passage is really not an ideal one to go to. And in dialogue with my friends, I'll sometimes ask them, so would you actually, as a Presbyterian minister, would you actually baptize a man's whole household if he got saved? And they would usually say yes. And so I say, you may still be picturing a man with an infant, but what about if a 50-year-old man gets saved, he goes home, he rejoices, tells his whole family the gospel, they all reject it, his wife is a Hindu, maybe he has a teenage son who's rebellious and who is a practicing homosexual, and they don't want to accept the gospel. Now they come to you as a family and say, we want to be unified as a family, Dad wants us to be baptized, we're willing to be baptized, but we don't believe in it. Would you baptize those people as a pastor? I doubt you would. All my friends have said no, they really wouldn't, because these are people who are rejecting the gospel. They're unbelievers. Well, a baby who hasn't accepted the gospel yet, because the baby can't understand the gospel, the baby can't believe in the gospel, it's still an infant, in my mind, ought not to be baptized, in the same way that a grown child of a believer should not be baptized if they are an unbeliever. So this is a question, it's an honest question. I'm not picking a fight with my Presbyterian friends, but I really do want to know, who would you baptize in the case where one member, the head of the household, is saved, but the other members of the household reject the gospel? Maybe leave me some answers in the comments of the YouTube channel and help me figure this out.